A vulnerable road user is anyone who's more vulnerable or susceptible to being in a crash or to suffering grave injury from being in a crash, simply because of who that individual is or his or her chosen mode of travel. So, typically, vulnerable road users are people like pedestrians, bicyclists, other pedal cyclists, wheelchair users. We also have expanded the notion of vulnerable road users here at VTTI to include those individuals who are drivers, who are in vehicles, but who are more susceptible to being in a crash or suffering injury in a crash simply because of who that individual is. That includes newly licensed teen drivers who are very inexperienced and have other things that make them much more vulnerable to being in a crash, as well as people at the other end of the age spectrum, the senior drivers, who have a variety of scenarios that they're involved with that tend to make them more vulnerable to being in a crash and to suffering serious injury because of being in a crash. And so with teens, we tend to see problems such as inexperience, obviously, but also immature brain development, feelings of invulnerability, it's never going to happen to me, problems with risk perception, as well as problems with risk-taking and the willingness to take risks. On the other end of the spectrum, we have senior drivers. They tend to be very careful, very safety conscious. They don't want to take any risks in general, high rates of wearing seat belts. But we see problems in other areas. We've done a variety of research projects, with the goal of enhancing safety for these individuals. Often it starts with a naturalistic driving observation so that we can see in real life what people are really doing, how they drive, how they respond to different scenarios, and from there we can begin to devise countermeasures. We have other notions that are emerging rapidly as we move forward in terms of the connectedness of vehicles and the connectedness of vehicles and individuals and infrastructure, as well as the emergence of automated vehicle systems and how vulnerable road users are going to interact with all those types of systems as we emerge into the future are all important areas to explore as we move forward.